Still reading for the gist? Okay. Okay, so what I want to talk a little bit about is what were the three overarching reasons that you saw in the article that the author uses to support his argument. Did anyone see one reason that the author discussed that supports the argument that CTE programs help provide students with knowledge and skills to transition in the workforce or education beyond high school? What was one of the categories that the author talks about? Anybody see any of the categories?
College readiness and career readiness, or are you thinking something different?
Well, when he talks about college and career readiness, what was one of the overarching reasons that he supports that those are two different tracks and that students would need to acquire different skill sets based on where they're transitioning into? So
that was an example. If you're going to be business compared to an engineer, you would need.
So those require different skill sets, right?
Yes.
But if you look at the subheadings, right? Work-based learning was one of those categories. What was another one? What was the first one on the first page at the bottom? Classroom instruction. And then there's one more. Career and technical organizations. So those would be the three reasons. So if we go back to our thesis statement, the author supports his claim by using
your CEO requesting your presence in the office.
by using
Dr. Chapman, your CEO is requesting your presence in the office.
by using classroom instruction, work-based learning, and career. What was the last one? Was career and right, career and technical student organizations. So those would be the three. So in this process, we don't want to give it to the students. We want them to do the thinking and them to work to try to figure it out just like we did. So there's a couple different ways we can do that. So you have an opportunity to choose one or two ways. This is called a consensus placemat. So in a consensus placemat, you would get a large, 8 by 11, 8 by 14 piece of paper, and each student would have their own sections. You would kind of draw this out on the paper. So 4 students would work on one piece of paper. You would put this question in the middle, and then each student will be responsible for trying to figure out what were the 3 reasons that the author uses to support his claim. So this student 1 would write in this section, student 2 would write in this section, 3, 4, and they would all have to be accountable to each other, because the idea here is that they have to come up with a consensus and have a discussion about, well, what are the 3? So if you had a different 3 answers and you had a 3, we would have to really look at the text and try to come to an agreement about what are the 3 main reasons. So this is one way to get students to collaboratively discuss the article, or you can choose this one, which is called the 3-2-1 handout. Now, in your student resource folder, this 3-2-1 handout is also a collaborative conversation tool. Because keep in mind, and the young lady here brought up a very valid point, is that this is not an assessment. This is an instructional practice that we're walking the students through. So just like I'm modeling these steps with you, the expectation is that you're going to do the same with the students. So you're not going to just hand them the task and say, read it, figure it out, write your essay. You're walking them through these components, and that's why we have this turnkey presentation. So you would do this over a number of days with your students. So to that end, we want students to collaboratively discuss. So this 3-2-1 protocol is that where the first student will write down the 3 reasons that they found in the text on this graphic organizer. They will also write down 2 questions they had while reading the text, and then one thing you learned from reading the text. So then what they would do is once they record this after they've just read for the gist, they would get up and share their findings with 2 other students. So you would either choose between this consensus placemat or the 3-2-1 handout, one or the other. Thoughts, questions about 3-2-1 or the consensus placemat? Yes.
So are you saying that all of the students do 3-2-1?
Yes.
Okay.
And so all the students would do their own. So this first column, after they read for the gist, they do the first column by themselves. Then afterwards, they get up and then they pair with someone else to share ideas, and they would pair up with someone else and share ideas. So this allows for that collaborative conversation, but also so they can share what each student thought were the reasons that the author discussed. So this helps build the framework so when we get ready to talk about the analysis, you can confirm whether or not did the students really get just the basic understanding of this article, or do I have to go back and look at some other pieces to help them clarify meaning based on what they got from the gist read? Yes?
This is a process question with regards to technology, which may not be in the domain of literacy department. If you did a copy of what you just said there for them to do on Google.
Yeah.
And then they go to each other
Yep.
and make sure
Yep.
that's acceptable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you had Google Classroom or you want to use Google Docs or whatever the case may be, the whole purpose is to get students to have a collaborative conversation.
Okay,
so whatever.
Physical is not, right. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so feedback about consensus placemat versus 3-2-1. Which one would you choose to use? What are your thoughts about either one?
I like 3-2-1.
You like 3-2-1? Here 3-2-1?
Yeah, 3-2-1.
Okay.
I think the students would like 3-2-1 because I found it's difficult to put them in a group.
In a group together, yeah.
They keep focused on what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. So this pretty much would conclude what we want to focus in on just for today, because we set the framework, because all of these components that we just talked about helps build just general understanding of the prompt, general understanding of the article. So now we can move into analyzing. All right? So, oh, you know what? This is one thing. So the last thing is, and we kind of touched upon this before, is now we can complete our thesis statement. Sorry about that. So we already have our claim, we already had the article, we were filling in those 3 supports here, and now the student in this last step have to make sure they can articulate, well, what is this prompt asking me to do? Can I truly say and understand what is being asked of me? So we want to make sure that the students can now articulate what is this what is this prompt asking you to do in their own words, so that we can make sure they understand what the claim is, that the fact that they have to look for evidence, reasoning, and word choice, and it's all about what the author did. We don't care anything about your opinion. We don't care whether you agree or disagree. We should not see the words I think, I feel, I like, because it's not an argumentative essay. It is all about what the author did to build his argument. All right, so we just put in the finished thesis statement. And so just as a reflection and discussion question, based on what we talked today, this will be kind of our exit ticket, how could you use the instructional practice of unlocking a prompt within your own course? How would this be applicable to your own class? Yes?
When I give them a project, they want me to regurgitate and almost do homeschooling on how to go about completing the project from the directions. So if I just were to go to this model, do it, work it through and figure out what it is that the assignment's requiring you to do.
Right. So these steps here, you don't have to have a literacy task in place for this. Because if we think about when we give our students homework or set of multi-step directions, we think about if our SLOs require some aspect of writing, and we read what the students have given back to us, you may say to yourself, this is not what I asked you to do. So the steps of unlocking is just to make meaning of what is being asked. So the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of success that we've seen with this literacy work is when teachers start adopting some of these literacy strategies and making it a living, breathing part of just their instructional practice. Because then when a student transitions over into this literacy task, they say, oh, we're just unlocking for another reason, okay? So I want you to just think about other ways that you can just utilize only these 4 steps for unlocking, whether that's a warm-up, whether that's a standard, whether that's an objective, whether that's if a student has to read a report and write a report or give customer service feedback, whatever the case may be, think about how you can use unlocking as part of a literacy strategy that will help students make meaning of what is being asked. So any questions, comments? Has anybody used any of these strategies that we've talked about today within their own courses before?
Well, I think I could probably use some of these just to make sure they understand directions.
Right.
When I'm giving them a project, maybe they
Yeah.
to. Sometimes I might just put out ingredients or something and tell them that they need to come up with a recipe or something
Right.
of their own.
Right.
So to make sure they understand that
Yeah.
I go through these steps, and then they can discuss it and I can hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
Then it will let me know that they understand.
Right. And the purpose is just for students to have strategy they will eventually internalize so that when they apply this, whether it's SAT or PARCC or any set of multi-step directions that's asking them to do something, they would use this as a skill set. So that concludes this part of the literacy task overview. The next aspect that we'll actually look at is really the heavy lifting of the analysis and understanding what that looks like so that when you turnkey with your students, the students have a full understanding of the process as well. So thank you all for being great participants. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to our collaboration next time.
Do you want us to bring these back?
Yeah, you can keep those and just bring those back because we'll use those same resources the next time we